this is a strength and a mobility session. So with this one you need your half dome or a rolled up towel, and then it will be really useful to have some things around to bolster yourself with. So maybe a stack of cushions. If you do happen to have one of the big yoga bolsters, that might be quite nice. Don't force yourself in this session. This isn't a session to really push yourself and try and create more movement. It's about moving around in the boundaries that you've got, so kind of finding your range of mobility and then kind of moving around in that, trying to get comfortable in that and not pushing it to the extreme. Always bolster yourself if you're not sure, always kind of take a step back, take a break if you need to, but let's just have a little play around, see how much mobility we've got and see what strength we've got, and then we know that we can build on that and we can practice these moves and hopefully see some improvement. So grab your half dome or your rolled up towel, and we're going to start with our calf stretch. So it's really good to kind of move through our body and release any tension first before we try and get deeper and looking at our mobility. So starting with that calf stretch. Top of the foot to the top of the dome, heel down on the floor, and then stepping your other leg to about a hip distance. And then we're just going to hold it here for a few breaths. Trying to have your weight back through your heel of the leg that's on the dome, because that's kind of the one that we want to be releasing. So we don't want to have all of our weight shifted forward. So back it up. And then seeing if you can stack your body. So we're trying to get our hips over our heels, our ribs over our hips, and our head over our shoulders, so that we're like that nice strong skyscraper building and we're not kind of all leaning forwards and crumpled like an old wreck. Let's stand nice and tall and just hold here for a few breaths. And then maybe it feels like it's quite easy for you to be here and it doesn't feel like there's very much going on in this leg. See if you can step that free leg maybe a smidge further forwards and see how that feels. So again, remember, we're not trying to force ourselves, we're not trying to get really far, we're just seeing where we can get to and how that feels. And again, just holding here. A few breaths. Good. Let's do the other side. So when you're ready, let's try calf stretch on the other side. Again, top of the foot to the top of the dome, heel down, and then stepping your other leg to hip width. Backing your weight up again, weight is through our heel, and then stack your body like that skyscraper again, so we can stand nice and tall. Notice, is it different on this side? Maybe this side feels a lot easier than the other side, just notice. And if you feel like you can, see if you can maybe step that free leg a little bit further forward, but if that makes you lose your alignment or you feel like you're going to fall over backwards, then step it back. Good. Okay. And then stepping off there, let's go to our top of the foot stretch next. So we're going to take one leg back and tuck those toes under. So it's like you're trying to get your toenails down on the floor. And then again, standing tall. Checking in, ribs stacked over pelvis, head over shoulders. Try and get this leg that's gone back straight, because often it will want to kind of bend. So see if you can keep that leg straight. Let's try the other side. So switching legs, I'm going to turn around just so I can get my toes on my mat because it's a little bit painful on that wooden floor. And again, standing tall. Good. All right, and then coming back in through centre. I'm going to move that half dome out the way a little bit. So let's take our legs wide, still keeping your feet pointing forwards, and let's let's just do that little bit of a hip shift here. So let's get some movement into these hip joints. And you can kind of feel as you shift your weight to one side, we get a bit of a stretch on the opposite inner thigh, we're getting a big stretch on that hip. And just go gently from side to side. Just notice anything that feels different. Notice any messages your body's sending you. Just being aware. We tend to move without really noticing, don't we? So just taking that little bit of time there. And then staying with your legs in this wide position, we're going to hinge forward. So think about folding at your hip as you hinge forward, sticking your bottom out behind you. Can you get your bottom further back than your heels? And you can rest your hands on your thighs here. And let's just hold here. Maybe do a little shift of your hips here, just kind of moving into this hip hinge, hip shift. If you don't want to move, if staying still feels better for you, then absolutely then do that. And as we're hinging, and as we're kind of moving, see if you can start to come down a little bit lower. Maybe see if you can move your hands down, your legs a little bit, maybe rounding forwards, letting your head hang, and you can choose to stay still, or you can keep moving here. How does that feel? How about if we soften those knees and just move around with a soft knee? And then when you're ready, soft knees, and just gently roll yourself all the way back up. And just come on up to standing. Let's just give those legs a little shake out. We're going to play around with this. We're going to do a little bit more with this. So let's step our legs even wider. Now, I kind of like my feet pointing forwards. It might be more comfortable for you to have yours turned out. So either of those positions are fine. What you're watching for is that it's not hurting on the inside of your knee, okay? If it's starting to bother your knees, turn your feet out a little bit more. Let's do that hinge again here. So we're going to hinge forwards, hands come down onto your thighs, and can you again start to lower yourself down closer towards the floor? Just go to where it feels okay for you. And then let's have a little bit of a soft knee. Maybe can you bring your hands down to the floor? Where do you need to get your hands down to the floor? And if you're miles away from the floor, maybe you've got a coffee table or a bed or a couch or something nearby that you can kind of get your hands onto. Just something so that you can start to move around here. Can we bend one knee and then bend the other knee? So we're just kind of going like a little side lunge, side to side. We've got our hands down or our hands on something. You could even kind of go near a wall and have your hands on a wall. Just something to give you a little bit of support. And again, we're just exploring into those hips. Moving around like a little animal. Maybe you could do a little roll. Okay. And then coming in through centre, and again, let's start to soften, bending those knees and roll yourself back up. Let's take those legs closer now. Let's go to kind of hip width. And let's roll down. I'm going to stand sideways. Let's roll down. So nod your chin towards your chest and start to round down towards the floor. And again, you can have a soft knee. Just kind of hang when you get there. Maybe nod your head like you're saying yes. Shake it side to side like you're saying no. How much do you need to bend your knees? Again, to get your hands down to the floor, you can hold onto your couch or your chair or anything else. And now can you bend and straighten those legs a little bit? They don't have to go fully straight. But let's just play around here. A little bend and straighten. A little bend and straighten. Good. And then can you bend your knees and come all the way down to a little squat down to the floor? We're going to go back up again. Don't get too comfortable. Can you come all the way back up? And then roll yourself back up to standing. Really good. Okay, let's go back to that wide leg position again. Let's do our little hip shift again. How are those hips feeling? Bit more mobile, we've had a little bit more movement there. All right, let's hinge again. So folding at your hip to hinge forwards. Hands come down onto your legs. We're going to come down even lower. Okay, so we're going to go as low as we can. So if you can't get your hands to the floor, just have your hands as low as you can on your leg. And we're going to do a little twist. So if your hand's on the floor, bring your hand into centre. If your hand is on one leg, that's fine. And then the other hand we're going to take up towards the sky. And we're going to twist our body to look up towards that hand. So it's either on the floor or on your leg, and we're in a twist. Can you hold for a couple of breaths here? And then we're going to twist to come back down to the floor. So again, you're just going to switch your hands now. So the other hand's going to come to the floor or to your leg, and we're going to reach the other arm up towards the sky. And again, looking up towards that hand. Hold for a couple of breaths here. If you need to, you can soften and you can have a little bend in your knees. If you don't need to bend them, let's keep them straight. And we're going to switch sides again, bringing that hand down. Switching sides. Twist to look up. Just pause for a couple of breaths. And last time we're going to switch and go to the other side. Good job. And then as you bring that hand down this time, let's again kind of go side to side, bending those knees, finding that little sideways lunge, getting deep into those hips. How low can you go? Can you get right down? Good job. All right, when you're ready, we're going to roll ourselves back up to standing. Come on up, come on up. Come on up. Walk those legs in, give those legs a little shake out. Okay. So I want you to imagine that you're out walking, you're in the woods somewhere, and there's a tree that's fallen down and it's a little bit too high for you to climb over, so you're going to go under it, and we're going to duck down under it. We've done these before. So we're going to come down and we're going to go under something. So imagining that you're kind of stepping down low to go under something. And how low can you get? How low can you go? Yeah. Really good. I like to do these kind of movements out in the wild, you know, like when you're kind of climbing through a fence when you go out for a walk, and instead of going to the gate, I like to try and climb under or over, just to kind of take these movements out into the wild. Okay, so we've kind of gone under. Let's see, can we step over something? So it's too low for us to go under. Can you lift your leg to step over and over? Like that. Stepping over and over. Ooh, try not to fall over. Again, when you're out walking, try and find something to step over. Good, okay. So we've stepped over sideways, we've gone under sideways. How about if there was something in front of you that you needed to step over? Can you lift your leg high to step over something? And if you were kind of, I don't know what you'd have to step over for, but something. Would you do a big high step to step over something? Because often lack of range of mobility in the hips means that we can't kind of get our leg up high enough to step over things. So how high can you step? Yeah. Lifting that leg high to step and step. Good. Okay, let's have a look at walking on something very narrow now. So if you walk along the edge of your mat, can you kind of walk toe to heel? So like you're walking on a tightrope. So we're trying to keep our range of movement small. And then notice, do you have to put your hands out to help you balance? And if you do, that's fine. But do you need them, or is it just habit? Can you do it without the hands out? Once you've got to one end, kind of try the other way. Can you walk toe to heel in that very narrow stance? How about can you do it backwards? So don't fall, but can you do toe to heel backwards. And does that make you want to put your hands out? Once you've gone one way, try it the other way. So if you see me out walking in the woods and I'm doing something very strange, you know why. Feel free to come and join in. Okay, so how about if we do a side step along the edge of the mat? So just step a little way, just little tiny side steps. So little tiny side steps really help to build the strength of our leading lateral hip. So here we want to make sure that our toes are pointing straight ahead and they're not turned out to the side. And then go back the other way. And think about leading with your heels. It's almost like the heels going first. Heels go first, and then you can really find that work in your lateral hip. Now if you have those elastics, and you've probably done this with me before, you can tie elastics around your ankles and do this little monster walk here, really good for helping to build that strength and stability in your hips. Do it one more time. Oh, Freddie's going to bark now because Charlotte's just about to walk in. Okay. So we're going to do some loading of our hands and our wrists. So let's have those fingers spread wide, thumbs point towards each other and elbow pits are forwards, and then let's just rock our weight here forwards and backwards. Now you can make this range as big or as small as you like. The further forward you come, the more load is on your hands and your wrists. So if it feels like it's really painful, really uncomfortable, make the range smaller. Try and keep those elbow pits pointing forwards. And then how about if we rock side to side here? So we're still in that same hand position, but we're just rocking side to side. And then how about if we do some little circles, so rocking forwards and backwards, circling around, loading and unloading. And then can you circle and go the other way? And then we're just going to come off our wrists for a moment and just give your wrists a little bit of attention, just give them a little twirl around and a little shake out. So it's really important that we do load our wrist because that helps to build the density and the strength of the bone there. Bone tends to thin when it's not really being used, so really important that we do load our bones, and that's just a really nice easy way to do that. So that's presuming that we're going to be loading our weight with our hand in that position and everything nicely aligned, but you know, if ever you're going to fall, you're not necessarily going to get your hand down in that position. So let's do some different hand positions. So coming back onto your hands and knees again, let's turn the hands out. Let's go all the way out to the sides. So your thumbs are going to point to the front of your mat and your fingers are pointing out to the sides. We still want to try and fan the fingers out as much as we can and get those elbow pits to point forwards. Let's again rock here. No, go smaller, because now that you've changed the geometry of your body, it might feel completely different. Again, you're in control of the range of movement, but don't go wild. So rocking forwards and backwards. Let's do a little bit of side to side. How does that feel? How about if we do our circles around? How about circling the opposite direction? Ooh. And then again, just coming off your wrists. Give them a little bit of movement. A little twirl, a little shake. Whatever you feel that they need to do. Let's move the hands around again. So we've gone straight ahead, we've gone out to the side. Let's turn them as much as we can to face towards our knees this time. So can you turn your hands around so that your fingers are pointing towards your knees? Elbow pits are obviously going to be forwards anyway. And let's just rock forwards and backwards here. Good. Again, super small, Might feel really strange, might not feel like you want to move at all, that's fine. Even just getting your hands anywhere near this position is hard work. How about a little side to side? It kind of feels weird but kind of nice, or maybe that's just me. Let's do circles, making them small. Oh, my circles are very small now. Can you circle the other way? Alright, coming off. Oh, do your hands still work? Can you come off your hands? Give them a little wriggle. Let's get the fingertips down on the floor and push your palms away so that we're using the floor to pull the fingers back and then reaching your thumbs away. A little bend in your elbow. Elbows are pointing back and not kind of out to the sides. Yeah, so can you find a little stretch there? Okay, we've got one last wrist position. Go really gentle with this, and if it doesn't feel nice, just don't do it. We're going to see if we can balance on the backs of our hands. Really gentle, really gentle. Have them quite close to you, and very, very small movement. Hello, Fred. Hello, Fred. Rock forwards and backwards. Hi. A little bit of side to side. Fred. Thanks. I'm having my face licked. It's lovely. How about some little circles? Yes, yes, I know. Yes. Ready. Circle the other way. And then come on off your wrists. Give them a little wriggle. Give them a little twirl. A little bit of stretching, a little bit of releasing of those wrists. Yes, I know. Let's do reverse prayer hands. Bring the backs of your hands together. Can you keep the backs of the hands together and lower your hands down? Come on, you. That way. Come on. Backs of the hands together and bring the hands down. Can you pull your thumbs away from the rest of your fingers and then relax your shoulders down? That last one was tough, wasn't it? Oh, and then just release. We're going to go back onto hands and knees, but this time we're going to think more about our hips than our hands. So we want to tuck our toes under, and we're trying to get as much movement through the foot as possible. So I like to lift my knee, place my toes down, and then kind of push my foot back before the knee comes down, just to try and get as much stretch in the foot as possible. And then stick your bottom out here, so we don't want to be tucked under. Stick your bum out, and then can you rock your weight back now? So you're going to take your bottom back towards your heels, and then just come slightly forward. You don't have to go all the way forwards to load your wrist. We've already done that. This time we're loading our feet. Okay, so we're just going forwards and backwards. Getting into that nice deep knee bend, deep hip bend, and stretching out those feet. So this is our squat prep. This is the movement that we do to try and get our body into good alignment so that at some point we'll be able to do some nice deep squats. But it is really good for mobility of everything. Okay, so as you take your bottom back towards your heels this time, stay there, and then can you walk your hands in to find that kneeling position? If you don't need your hands on the floor, can you come up and stay with those toes tucked under in that deep kneeling position? Can you just hold here for a couple of breaths? We're going to see if we can come to a little bit of a squat from here. So bring your hands back down to the floor, and you can use your hands to help lift the knees to come into like a little squat. And then bring the knees back down. So that's all we're going to do, is we're going to lift the knees up to try and find that little squat position, and then come back down. So if you find that really difficult, you can bolster, you can put something under your knees to lift those knees a little bit higher. You could pop a cushion, you could roll your mat over a few times, you can use a bolster. So here again, we're working on mobility of our feet, of our knees, of our hips, as we just come in and out of that squat to kneeling. And if you need to rest and have a stretch, then obviously do. Okay, so this time as you come into your squat, can you come up to standing? And then once you're standing, can you come all the way back down again? To that squat. And then can you come back to that kneeling? Try that again. So go from kneel to squat to stand. And then from standing to squatting to kneeling. And if you don't need your hands, try it without your hands. Can you go from kneeling to squatting to standing? And then again, stand to squat. Now can you get your knees down without the hands? And that's something you can play with again, bolstering to bring the ground up a little bit closer to you. If you find that as you're bringing the knees down, they kind of crash down, or maybe you find that one has to come down and then the other. So that's something nice you can play with. I say nice, come forwards, release those toes. Give the feet a little flutter, maybe banging the tops of the feet down on the floor. Let's take it into child's pose now. Bottom back towards your heels. A little bit of pressure on the tops of those feet and reaching your arms forwards. Let's hold in that child's pose for a few little breaths here. When you're ready, we're going to come on up. So we're going to stay in this like kneeling position here. And again, if you need to bolster yourself in that kneeling position, if kneeling down is not a happy place for you, feel free to sit on something, to place something under your bottom, under your, wherever you need to kind of just be comfortable. But we're going to stay in this kneeling position and we're going to reach as far as we can to one side. And then just come back in. Reach as far as you can to the other side. Come back in, do that again, reach as far as you can. And reach as far as you can. How about if we try and reach behind? Reach as far as you can behind. And then on the other side, reach. Again, reaching behind. It's just about moving, getting some mobility in different positions. Okay. Now if you've got your half dome or your rolled up towel handy, we're going to use it. Okay, so we're going to tuck our toes under again. We're going to place our half dome rolled towel behind us, it's right behind your feet, and we're going to use it to help us squat, okay? So we're going to use our hands to come up into that squat position and then let your heels find your roller or your towel. So you're in a squat but your feet are propped up, yeah? And then can you come up to standing from there? So it might be easier now you've got your heels propped up to come up to standing. Can you squat down again? Okay, so maybe this is a more comfortable squat position. If you're really tight through backs of your legs or your ankles, then a bolstered squat tends to be a little bit more comfortable. Certainly more comfortable for me. But we're going to stay here for a few breaths. And while we're here, we're going to reach, can we reach our arm up towards the sky? So can you stretch in your squat? And then lower that hand down. How about the other arm? Can you reach up to the sky? And then bring that hand down. Let's do one more on each side. Really reach. And bring it down. And the other side, reach. And bring that arm down. Alright, can you come back up to standing from that squat, from that bolstered squat, all the way up to standing, and then come all the way back down. This is the last time. I'm going to make you do this for now anyway. Okay, coming down, get rid of your half dome or your towel. We're going to lie down on our back. Thank goodness for that. Let's have a little lie down. Okay. Enjoy. Brief reprieve of lying down. You know it's not going to last, don't you? Take your arms out to the sides, palms are facing up. Let's take it into a spine twist. So knees are going to roll one way, in through centre to the other side. So let's do just a few little twists here. And then stay with your spine twist, but let's bring the legs into tabletop. So legs are in tabletop, and we're going to twist side to side. And then this time let your knees roll all the way to the floor on one side. So you're all the way down, and then we're going to roll our upper body back out, trying to find that T position,
Trying to bring our arms down towards the floor whilst trying to keep your knees anchored. And let's hold here for a few breaths. And then staying with our upper body in this T position, we're going to just lift the top knee. So bring that top knee up towards the sky, bringing that top knee up as far as it'll go on its own, and then bring that bottom knee up to join it, and we're going to roll over to the other side. So again, you might find that your body goes all the way onto your side and your shoulders lift away from the floor. Absolutely fine. Get your knees anchored first, make sure you're happy there, and then roll your upper body back out into that T position. Let's again hold here for a few breaths. And then we're going to do the same again. We're going to lift the top knee, let the top knee come up as far as it will go on its own. Once that top knee won't go any further without its friend, let its friend come up. And let's roll over to the other side again. We're just going to go side to side a few times this time, so don't worry too much about what your upper body's doing. Let's go again. Top knee goes first, as far as that knee will go. Then the second knee's going to come up, and we're going to roll it over to the other side. Go again when you're ready. Top knee first, take it as far as it will, then bring the other one up and roll over. Let's do one more time. Knee first, then the other, and over. Good job. Alright, bring your knees into your chest. Now give your knees a little hug, and let's just rock gently side to side. Let's find that lengthen torpedo stretch. So reach your arms overhead, reach your legs out long, and make your body as long as you can from fingertips to toes. And we're going to try and roll over here, but we're going to try and roll over by using, let's do one arm first. So bring one arm kind of up towards the sky, and then bring that arm across your body, and then kind of lead with that arm. So you might find that you can't go anywhere. You might just go a little way, and that's fine. Go as far as you can. And then let's go back and try the other side. So bringing your other arm up, bringing that arm across. How far can it go? Just leading with the arm. Maybe you can roll all the way over. Maybe you would need to bend one knee and kind of press one foot to roll over. So let's come back onto our back again when you're ready. Let's try a leg this time. So lift a leg, it doesn't have to come all the way up to the sky, but lift a leg and then bring that leg across. Keep that leg coming across, and maybe it will let you roll all the way over. If you've managed to roll all the way over with your leg, can you roll back? Oh, you might have to bend a knee, you might have to do an elbow. What do you need to do to roll back? I've rolled off my mat. So can you maybe lift that leg, take that leg, and roll back. If you've managed to roll front to back and back again on one side, try it on the other side. So again, you're lifting one leg and then you're using the weight of that leg, you're letting that leg kind of come across and start to pull your body as you roll over. And then seeing if you can lift that leg and again bring that leg across to roll you back. So these are really good abdominal strength movements. Yeah. So you're seeing if you can roll over using your arms, you're seeing if you can roll over using your legs, and it is a lot of work. Try one more time. Try your arms, try your legs, see how it feels. You can use your arms. Do you have to kind of cheat and use your legs? I have to kind of use my heels, maybe dig my heels into the floor to help me get across with the arms, or bend a knee, but just see how it feels. It's all just about exploring the movements and seeing where your body is at right now. When you've had enough, bring your knees to your chest again. Let's just roll it out. So those are really good. I kind of call them lazy movements. They're actually really hard work, But you know, when you just kind of want to move, but you can't really be bothered to do a right look, get on the floor and just move around. Okay, we're going to come up to seated next. So when you're ready, find your way up to a seated position, and we're going to do that 90-90 legs. So one leg going forwards, one leg going back. And hands down on the floor gives more space for your hips. So if you need to have your hands on the floor, do that as we transition from one side to the other. So do a few like that first, with lots of space for your hips. And then if you don't need the hands down, you can sit up tall and do your 90-90 legs then. A little bit of movement there. If you need your hands down on the floor, absolutely put them down. How about if we add the reach? So as you let your legs go to one side, whichever way your feet are pointing, let's reach away in the opposite direction and really stretch. Try the other side. And really reach and stretch. Try that a couple of times. Okay, so let's have a little play around with a bit more of our mobility of our hips in that 90-90 position. So come back to your 90-90, and again feel free here to bolster yourself, because we're going to see if we can come up to kneeling here. Use your hands as much as you need to, and then can you press into the floor and come up? So you're just kind of trying to lift your bottom off the floor and then lower it down again. Takes a lot of mobility through your hips, so can you get your hands on the floor and just lift your bottom up? Even if you only lift a tiny bit, that's fine. So what you can do there is you can use something under your bottom to lift the floor up a little bit higher, to give a bit more space for your hips to help you to come up. So feel free to use something if you need to. If you're quite happy and you're able to come up, can you come up to a high kneeling position? And then lower back down with control. So try that a few times. Can you come up? Because you will be able to then transition up to standing from there. So just playing with that a few times. And then try it on the other side. So shift your legs to the other side. And it might be different on this side. So if you can't get up at all on one side, don't worry, use your hands as much as you need to. Maybe just lifting a tiny bit, even just that is really good, and that's going to really help to build that strength and that mobility. Remember, you can bolster if you need to. Use your hands as much as you need to. Good. All right. Let's lie down on our front. Come on down to your front. Okay. So we're down on our front, and we're going to come up to standing from here. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to bend one knee out to the side, and then we're going to come up onto our elbows. We're going to press into our elbows, press into our knee, and we're going to slide that other knee in so that we're going to come up onto our knees. And then you can kind of walk those knees in. So we're knees and elbows now, are we there? We're going to go onto our hands, and then we're going to go into a high kneeling position. We're going to step one leg forwards into a lunge. We're going to tuck those back toes. We're going to press into both feet, and we're going to come up to standing. Can we reverse that and go the other way? So we're going to step into that lunge. We're going to lower one knee down to the floor. Feel free to use something to hold on to if you need to. Step that lunge leg back, so we're in that high kneeling position. We're going to bring our hands down to the floor, so we're on our hands and knees again. Down onto your elbows. Sliding one leg out long, one leg out to the side, and come back down onto your front. Bringing the leg in, and come all the way back down. There we go. Good job. Let's try that again. So knee, try in fact do the other side. So knee goes out to the side, other side this time. Onto your elbows. Pressing into your elbows, pressing into your knees. You slide that other leg in, so you're on both knees, and then walk the knees in closer to each other. Hands down next. And then find that high kneeling position. Other leg this time, step forward into that lunge and tuck your back toes. Pushing into those feet, can you come up to standing?
Good job. Let's go back down. When you're ready, lowering that back knee back down into your lunge. Stepping that leg back to find that high kneeling position. Back onto your hands. Back onto your elbows. Straighten one leg out long. Other knee out to the side as you lower yourself back down. All the way down. Lengthen the legs and rest your head all the way down. Hold here for a moment. Just enjoy the peace and the quiet, because I've got another little challenge for you. We're going to come back up to seated. So make your way back up to find that seated position. And it's another challenging hip mobility movement. We're going to have one leg kind of bent out to the side and one leg kind of in. It's a little bit like a number 4 position almost. We're going to again see if we can lift our bottom away from the floor. So you can use your hands as much as you need to. Can you just lift your bottom off the floor and lower? So try that a few times, just a gentle lift and lower of your bottom. Again, working on mobility of hips. And then seeing if you can come up and then come up high. So you're just imagining that you're down like this and you want to stand up. So you're going to kind of come up first and then kind of come up. So you don't have to come all the way up, but you're just kind of getting that first bit. It's almost like, if you're struggling, use your hands. Maybe lean forward, planting your hands on the floor, and use your hands to help bring you up. It's just playing around with different positions that's going to help you to find where you need to be. Let's try the other side. So one leg out, one leg in. And again, you can have them closer, further apart, but just see. Hands down if you need to, just that little lift first. Of your bottom away from the floor. And if you know you're happy, come up higher. Playing around, you can come up all the way to standing if you want to. So you kind of come up. And you can kind of transition, you can play around, but it's all hips, it's all mobility of your hips, yeah? So any movements that are just not available to you, don't worry about it, just find another way around it, keep playing with it, and they will get better and better. How about if we do the cross legs? So cross leg position. Again, this is a real challenge for a lot of people to even sit in this position. But from here, get your hands down on the floor, can you come up onto your knees? You can uncross your legs and then you're kind of in that kneeling position. Yeah? And then can you transition back? So I'm crossing my legs behind me and then sitting down. So again, depends on your knees, depends on your hips. And again, you can kind of then just come up to standing. If you've tried it one way, try crossing your legs the other way. And again, can you come up from there? And if it's a no, that's fine. Use your hands. Even just kind of that leaning forwards and just lifting a little bit will really help with that mobility of your hips, yeah? So just play it around with those movements. Alright, let's kind of play with some deep lunges then next. So let's come into a lunge. And we're going to imagine that there's something in front of us that we really want to reach. So we're going to reach in that lunge and just kind of come in as far forwards as we can and reaching and then coming back. Try the other side. Lunge, really deep lunge so that we can reach and come back in. Do that a few times on each side. Reach. Come back in. And again, reach. And come back in. So we're going to do, let's come on to hands and knees next. And tuck your toes under. And can you lift your knees just off the floor? So just a little knee hover just off the floor. And then lower down. Let's play with that a few times. Toes are tucked under and we're just hovering the knees and then lowering down. So that might be as much as you want to do today. So that's going to really help to build strength, stability in your shoulders and use your abdominals. If that's okay, we're going to see if we can go from this position to flipping over the other way. So lifting the knees and then pivoting around, lifting one hand so that you can twist your body around and get both hands on the floor so you kind of just flipped over the other way, yeah. And then again, can you pivot to come back over the other way. If you manage to go one way, see if you can go the other way. And you kind of pivot over to come over the other way. And if it's a no, stay with the knee hover and just practicing that knee hover. Try a couple of times each way. So great for shoulder mobility and strength, abdominal work. Whew. Good job. All right, and then come down. Stay on your hands and knees. Let's have a little crawl. Let's have a little, go right to the end of your mat. And let's just have a little crawl. When was the last time you crawled? Crawl. Kind of turn around and crawl the other way. And crawling takes a lot of work. It's one of the first movements, isn't it, that babies do, but it takes a lot of abdominal strength to be able to crawl. Coordination. Can you crawl backwards? Again, turn around, can you crawl backwards? Sometimes it's coordinating your arms and your legs, isn't it? That's the hardest thing. If that's okay, how about can you crawl, instead of on your hands and knees, on your hands and your toes, so hover those knees. And again, can you do a little crawl there? Turning around, and crawl, knees hovering. Getting warm now. How about if we do an inverted crawl? So let's come over to that position we were just before. Can you do an inverted crawl? Turning around. I love these silly little movements because you know what? That you're working super hard, but it kind of makes you laugh. And you feel a little bit silly, but that's okay. Come off your wrists, your wrists are twirl around. We're all looking silly together. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, so another little movement that's similar to crawling is the bear crawl. Let's try a bear crawl. So this time, hands and knees, tuck your toes under, and then stick your bum up in the air. And you can walk on your hands and your feet here. Little bear crawl. I don't know why they call it a bear crawl. How's that? The skiddling about in the room. Hands and feet. And are you on your toes or can you keep your feet flat down? Either is fine, but just notice. Can you get your hands and your feet flat down? Alright, and then come on down. Whew, all the way down. Oh, I'm out of breath. Let's come onto our back. Bring your knees into your chest. Let's rock gently side to side. We're going to do a little bit of rolling. We're going to hold behind our knees. And we're going to start to rock forwards and backwards. Can you do a little bit of, this is where my mat starts snoring. Can you roll yourself up to seated? And then back. Can you roll up to seated? And back. And if you can't come all the way up to seated, or you feel like it sounds like a flat tire, just stay low. Just kind of finding that smooth rolling. So rolling is really good for loading your spine, for mobility. Can you hear my mat snoring? Alright, one more time. As you roll yourself up to seated this time, let's stay up. Come on up. Lengthen those legs out long. I'm going to stay this way. Lengthen those legs out long. Have your hands down on the floor behind you for a little bit of support. Let's roll those legs in and out. Think about that movement coming all the way from your hip joint as we roll in and out. Bring them closer together. Roll in and out. Closer. Let's bring the soles of the feet together, finding that cobbler or that frog position. And then just gentle bounce. Gentle, gentle. They're not forcing.
slide them away a little bit. Gentle, gentle bounce. Good job. Alright, and then just find a seated position. Let's just do some little shoulder rolls. And go the other way. Let's do some little head turns. Coming in through centre, let's take it into a head tilt, dropping your ear down towards your shoulder, letting your shoulders relax down away from your ears. Hold here for a couple of breaths. Head comes up and over to the other side again. Hold here, a couple of breaths. Good. And again, just coming up. Guys, you survived. You are all done.